Hi there, welcome back to your favorite deep dive show on stories contemporary and consequential for India. This week I pegged the edition on the developments in Nepal. An elected government toppled in less than 36 hours of violent protests carried out by the youth in what is being dubbed as the Gen Z revolt. What happened in Nepal could be called the first social media riot in the world. Well, on the face of it, the issues that triggered the protests and the regime change in Nepal are deep-rooted in misgovernance, corruption, as key among many other factors. But what was different about Kathmandu was the power of social media over the collective psyche of the masses. Is it the proverbial tiger that societies are riding? You get down and you risk being devoured. It's a roller coaster of regulation, protests, the modern zeitgeist, and the drama that comes with it. Let's get going. On September 4, the KP Sharma Oli government of Nepal banned 26 major social media and messaging apps. Think Facebook, Insta, WhatsApp, YouTube, and X, because they did not register under a 2023 law aimed at regulating online platforms. The government said it was about curbing misinformation, scams, and content disrupting social harmony. Like many other nations of the world, Nepal too has been trying to get a grip on the digital world for a while. And this rule, backed by a Supreme Court order from mid-August, told the companies to set up shop locally, like maintain an office where someone responsible can be contacted. If, for example, someone is a victim of defamation, or if the government wants action in the interest of law and order, there should be a compliance and grievance redressal official from these platforms sitting in Kathmandu. Something exactly similar has been done in India, in fact, and everyone has complied. Only that in the case of Nepal, despite multiple extensions of the deadline, none did except for TikTok and Viber. The Oli government snapped after the last deadline of August 28 and came out with the ban order on September 4. For the government, it seemed like a simple executive fiat to enforce a law with the backing of the topmost score of the country. Something similar had already happened at a smaller scale. TikTok was banned for 9 months until it complied, and Telegram was thrown out of the country for its failure. Oli and his advisors thought perhaps this mass banning too would get the big corporations to act. So far, so good. But with over 90% of Nepal's internet traffic tied to social media, the sheer number of people affected by the decision was huge. Add to it the fact that increasingly, while we associate those social media apps with entertainment and time pass, there is important social angle of education, of commerce, and communication connected. The ban hit hard. Discontent was immediate. With about 10% of Nepal's population living abroad as migrants or a temporary workforce, millions of Nepalis rely on these apps to chat with families back home. Migrant workers send home a third of the country's GDP as remittances, run businesses, or just stay entertained. Some fuel to the smoldering embers was added by usual suspects like the Amnesty International, which cried foul and called the decision aimed more at curbing democratic rights and free speech. So when the access vanished, the youth, especially Gen Z, hit the streets. That's why this got branded as a Gen Z riot. By September 8, protests erupted in Kathmandu and beyond. 19 were killed on day one, making the situation more explosive. The Oli government completely misread the situation. It stood in a stupor like a hare caught in the headlights of a speeding car coming its way. There was complete collapse of law and order machinery, and the intelligence failed to anticipate the scale of the mobilization. As Prime Minister Oli dug in his heels, refusing to roll back the ban despite day one of mayhem, second day turned into a horrific disaster. Every minister or politician the protesters could lay their hands on was badly beaten up. Even their families were not spared. Every institution faced the wrath of the mob. The parliament was gutted. The Supreme Court was burnt. The Prime Minister's office turned to smoke and ashes. Oli had to resign in disgrace. Before his resignation letter, he did take back the ban, but it was too late. Over 30 lives had been lost, and hundreds are still injured in clashes with the police and army. A tenuous calm prevails as the Nepal army, the only institution that preserved its stature and dignity, polices the streets and brokers stocks at the same time to get the government back on track. What began as an outcry against the social media ban turned into a complex web, angst, anxieties, and frustrations coming out of a society that feels shortchanged by its political class. Let us look at the issues one by one. Gen Z first. They are the digital first generation born after the Y2K and became the name and face of the violence that engulfed Nepal this week. For most of them, a substantial part of their existence is lived online. It's a self-contained universe which the bans brought crashing down. That they are addicted would be an understatement. The violence was a withdrawal symptom. Living a virtual life with its associated uncertainty and directionlessness, they might not have even realized that their quest for reels has had real-world consequences. Look at this video of a protester dancing with what seems like properly choreographed moves with the Prime Minister's residence going up in flames in his backdrop. This is the zeitgeist of the times they live in. The real is real. Even a riot situation, the camera is the prop. Slash and burn is their idea of justice, not due process of law. Those pictures were horrific. There can't be romance to it. Connected with this virtual world dystopia of the Gen Z is the physical world want of a job. You can live and breathe reels, but you need bread in your stomach. That's where the Nepali polity and governance come in. With an unemployment rate of over 20%, a stagnating economy, corruption in government, nepotism in politics, it was always a tinderbox waiting for a match.
We need all those corrupt politicians and corrupt politics to be completely extinct. We don't need any of these corrupt politicians here in Nepal.
ये देश हमारा है, ये जिंजी लोग का देश है, ये नेता लोग सब भाग गया, ये नेता लोग काम चोर है, भ्रष्टाचारी है।
आप लोग देख रहे हैं संसद भवन कितना जल रहा है, यहीं पर नेता लोग अपना भ्रष्टाचारी लुकाते हैं, बैठे हैं। अब क्या हो रहा है देखिए, आज सभी नेता लोग का घमंड तो टूट ही गया है ना।
सुनिए, जो हुआ है ना, ये इतना कुछ ये सोशल बैंडिंग के लेके नहीं हुआ है। हम लोगों को चाहिए यूथ लीडर चाहिए। अब हम लोग परिवर्तन खोज रहे हैं। ये बूढ़े लोग है ना, ये बूढ़े लीडर है ना, वो हम लोग अब वक्त हो गया है। अब नहीं चाहिए, हमारा यूथ चाहिए। अब सब जेन जी का मांग है यूथ।
social media had been amplifying exposés on Nepo kids, politicians' families flaunting wealth while many Nepalis struggle. The protests weren't just about getting Instagram back. They were a scream against a system that feels rigged. You wonder why every former prime minister and his family members were targeted? Look at this. After the second round of multi-party democracy that kicked in Nepal from 2008, the country has seen 13 prime ministers. The same set of leaders, same set of people around them. A game of musical chairs in which personal ambition takes precedence over national interest, where political intrigue guides public conduct. Corruption has been rampant. Nepal has slipped on most development parameters. Infrastructure is broken. But for mountain tourism and foreign remittances of Nepalis abroad, which, as I mentioned, constitute 1/3 of the nation's GDP, the economy is in complete shambles. Now deposed KP Sharma Oli has been Prime Minister 4 times in the last decade and a half. His ally Pushpa Kumar Dahal, alias Prachanda, thrice. Sher Bahadur Deoba, 5 times. Girija Prasad Koirala, who passed away in 2010, had been PM 5 times. Surya Bahadur Thapa, who died in 2015, had been PM 5 times. Lokesh Bahadur Chand became PM 4 times. The likes of Krishna Prasad Bhattarai, Madhav Nepal, Sushil Koirala, Baburam Bhattarai have been faces in Nepali politics, controlling levers of power for 3 decades and more. The case of Surya Bahadur Thapa is the most emblematic of the Malays. He became PM for the first time in 1963 and for the 5th and last time in 2003, hanging around for 40 years. Through all this, the Nepali economy has stagnated. Tourism around Mount Everest carries the burden of service sector. Against the potential of 100 gigawatts of hydropower, Nepal has managed just about 2.5 gigawatts of installed capacity. Projects remain mired in corruption. Flagship infrastructure ports like Pokhara and Lumbini airports have come up, courtesy China. Or look at these headlines. The state of aviation safety is so pathetic that for over 10 years now, European Union has put a complete ban on any Nepali airline flying over their airspace for the fear of the aircraft's crashing. This report on the notorious Buddha Air says that the pilots did not even come to know that one wheel had fallen off during takeoff, though they managed to land the plane safely. All these reports are recent. That gives you a sense of frustration that might have been building up among the common Nepali citizens over the state of affairs. The mismanagement of the country by the kleptocracy can be allowed to run only that much in the name of multi-party democracy. It was this kleptocracy that got targeted by the frustrated youth. It is not coincidental that the 2 choices being talked about to hand over power are not part of the ruling clique. Balendra, or Balen, his rapping pen name, is the first mayor of Kathmandu since 1989 to have won without any political party affiliation. One reason for his popularity has been his weaving of social narratives, including corruption, in his songs. Justice Sushila Karki might be old, but she again comes from a non-political background and is seen as a challenger to the elites, given her judicial activism as the first woman Chief Justice of Nepal. Such must have been her getting under the nerves of the ruling gerontocracy of Nepal that an impeachment motion was brought against her in the parliament in 2018. The raw idealism in the case of Balen and the anti-corruption crusade of Karki have made them the favorite of the change seekers. both incidentally studied in India. Balan was at the Vishwasaraya Technical University in Karnataka, and Justice Karki was at the Banaras Hindu University in Uttar Pradesh. That gives you an idea of the kind of anti-politics sentiment that's already prevailed in Nepal for a while. That brings us to the big question. What's in it for us in India? Nepal has become the fourth nation in the neighborhood to have had a regime change by use of force by the masses. Or that's what seems on the face of it, at least. We had the Rajapaksas run for their life in Colombo in 2022. We had disturbances in Maldives that led to a change of government in 2023, albeit through polls. And then Dhaka blew up last year with the coup against Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, now cooling her heels in Delhi. This regime change with the use of street power and violence should concern us as much as it should any democratic society in the world. There are two patterns in these examples above. Like it happened in the case of Sri Lanka and Maldives, economic mess led to outpouring of public anger and consequent loss of mandate for the incumbent governments. In the case of Bangladesh, there's ample circumstantial evidence to connect the students' unrest with foreign hand. There has been some insinuation from political opposition that this could happen in India. There are solid reasons I believe that it won't. First, Indian economy is firing on all cylinders. The rate of growth, fastest in the world, is set to maintain this trajectory for decades to come. India is a rising power and not a middling, struggling economy as in the case of Nepal or Bangladesh or Sri Lanka. The government of Prime Minister Narendra Modi has double mandates, one of the hustings and two of the economic booster. PM Modi remains a popular mass leader and, in fact, regularly bursts global leadership popularity charts. Second, while there would be foreign powers inimical to India's rise, and hence they would fan anti-national forces within, the state capacity of India, by which I mean the capacity of our security apparatus, is second to none in the world. Our agencies can anticipate and tackle national security challenges way better than what has happened in our neighborhood. State capacity is important, not only to anticipate, but to remain on top of developments by way of intelligence. What explains, for example, the intransigence with which PM Oli said on first day of riots that his government would not roll back the bans? Compare that with the farm loss protests in India. Not only did the Modi government contain them well, but also showed flexibility of taking the laws back. Or in the case of CA NRC protests, even though the government dug in its heels, as did the protesters, both sides knew where the red line was. In the case of the government, on how much to push, and in the case of protesters, where their right to protest met the imperatives of public order. A reminder of which came this week, incidentally, when the bail petitions of Sharjeel Imam and Umar Khalid, wanting to break India, were rejected by the topmost court of the country. Everyone should get the message. Everyone should feel reassured. Before I close, one more look at this phenomenon of social media and its clout. It's a reality every nation, every society, and every government must live with. Nepal has become the latest example of how the internet is a tool both constructive and destructive. In 2018, Facebook admitted that its platform became an instrument of accentuating violence in Myanmar. The episode perhaps played its role in a larger pushback under which Facebook ultimately decided to pull the plug on news from its platform. Social media amplifies without filters. What gets classified as social media is a US $250 billion plus advertising juggernaut. In India, the influencer marketing is already pegged at about 3,000 crore rupees. And that's just one small sliver of the social media universe. Many influencers, having built their followers and fan base, are monetizing the numbers for cash and moolah. Quite a few of them are turning entrepreneurs, selling products from face creams to underwear. It's a natural progression. You would have heard of Mr. Beast, world's topmost followed YouTube channel. Jimmy Donaldson, or Mr. Beast now earns more money from old world businesses like selling chocolates than his videos. By next year, his media business would likely contribute only a fifth of his total earnings. He has recently even hired an executive to cut the production costs of his classy videos. YouTube revenue in India is likely to be rupees 15,000 crores this year, more than half of which is shared with the content creators, which means about rupees 8,000 crores is distributed by YouTube alone. That's 1/4 of the entire television news industry revenue in India. The Income Tax Department has, in fact, for the first time included social media influencers as a category of professionals in this year's IT returns forms. The department found that the number of social media influencers with more than rupees 20 lakhs as annual income has risen sharply over the last 2 years. In some cases, the annual income is in the range of 2 to 5 crores, with rupees 100 crores or more of net worth. Creator economy and the influence of these influencers was not missed even by the Modi government, which organized National Creator Awards last year. This is a digital-first population of 800 million internet users, and you cannot not take them into account. And when you are on everything social media, how can you not mention the most social media-driven leader of the world? In the month of April, President Donald Trump of the United States fired 6 of his National Security Council staffers following a dossier presented to him by a mega, that is Make America Great Again influencer and Trump ally, Laura Loomer. She reached the White House with what she called her research on these intelligence hands like Brian Walsh, Senior Director of Intelligence, who had earlier worked with Secretary of State Marco Rubio on the Senate Intelligence Committee, like Thomas Boudry, the Senior Director of Legislative Affairs, who previously had served as National Security Advisor Mike Waltz's Legislative Director in the Congress, or Maggie Doherty, the Senior Director for International Organizations. Imagine the influence of the influencers. The American president fired a trusted intelligence staffer of his national security advisor based on an intelligence report of a social media influencer. Coming back to Nepal, by the time I was getting this ready, Justice Sushila Karki had emerged as the favorite of the Gen Z insofar as takeover of the interim government is concerned. But guess what? Whichever the next government, it would still need to implement the law mandated by Nepal's Supreme Court. It is going to be a steep learning curve for the citizens of Nepal, their Gen Z included. Thanks for watching.